Let's talk about the National Guard.
The National Guard is a hybrid organization. It can be under the control of the several states or under the control of the executive branch of the federal government. Each state and U.S. territory has its own unit, which operates under their respective governor. This is except for Washington, D.C., which operates under the President of the United States. This might be why the National Guard has been deployed by Trump without legal challenges only in Washington, D.C. in 2025. In 2020, when he deployed them there were legal challenges, but we'll get back to that. So throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the National Guard was pretty firmly under state control. And the president could really only ask for the Guard's help through persuasion or coercion. The governors could just say no. In 1903, the Militia Act, also known as the Dick Act, exchanged getting more funds from the federal government for giving over more control to the feds. Now, you either answer the call or face a court-martial. The Dick Act was amended several times to remove restrictions, such as how long the feds could use the Guard. It used to be 9 months, now it's indefinite, and allow them to operate in overseas operations. The federal government has continued to make sustained gains in control over the National Guard since then. For instance, in 2007, Congress passed a law that made it so POTUS could take control of the Guard without the governor's consent for missions within that governor's state. All 50 state governors sent a letter to Congress saying, hell no. So in 2008, Congress softened the law so that POTUS can only do this during congressionally sanctioned national emergencies or war. Trump has been trying to deploy the Guard in Portland and Chicago without the consent of the governors. Anyway, so the Dick Act is essentially the initiation of the president's authority to call up the National Guard for any of these three reasons. There are three areas of the law that govern use of the Guard. One is state-level laws that govern the state's individual Guard unit. 2 is Title 32 of the U.S. Code, and 3 is Title 10. When under the command of their governor, the Guard is not a federal organization, and therefore they are allowed to conduct law enforcement activities. Domestic law enforcement includes things like search and seizure, investigation, and apprehension and detention of people suspected of criminal offenses. When under the command of the president under Title 10, the Guard becomes part of the same military chain of command as active and reserve troops in the other branches. In this case, they are now regulated by the Posse Comitatus Act and may not conduct law enforcement activities domestically. We'll get back to that.